Section 3. Demo bot using Lewis. In this section, we're going to spend the first video setting up our Lewis interface by setting our intents, utterances, and entities. We'll then move on to building the bot using the Microsoft Bot Framework. Finally, we'll publish the bot to Facebook Messenger by adding Facebook Messenger as a channel, and also look at customizing Facebook messages. Configuring Lewis. In this video, we'll go through a quick overview of our bot objectives. We'll then go to the Lewis user interface and set up our intents and entities. We'll then make sure we train Lewis ready for the Visual Studio import. So first, let's give a quick summary of what this bot is going to do. This demo is actually close to a real-life example. We're going to be building a Conti Stud info bot. Now, Conti Stud is actually a real-life running business. It breeds horses and also offers stabling facilities. They've requested a bot that can handle simple queries through Facebook Messenger. Here are some of the intents that they have in mind for the bot. Simple greeting and name storing, providing information on their services, providing information on their locations, and general information. Just for a bit more information about their services, they provide horses and ponies for sale, accommodation, and stabling. And they have 2 locations. One is their breeding farm and one is their training yard. So the bot needs to take all of this into account. So let's get started to build this bot on Lewis UI. Okay, so you're already familiar with the Lewis interface. So head over to the lewis.ai website and sign in. You should see your Lewis apps, including our cake bot that we did previously. So let's go ahead and create a new app. We'll call it Conti Stud. So based on the intents we just looked at, let's first go ahead and create them and add some utterances. The first intent we'll add is the greeting intent. And let's just type in some basic utterances. Hi could be a first one. So go back to intents and let's add our second intent. The second intent will be services. For now, we're just going to add a couple of utterances that we could be in use, that the user might type in when they interact with this bot. So let's come up with several phrases that can be used. So here's a couple of examples that I've entered as utterances. Remember to always save. And we still need to train Lewis, but let's first finish with our intents. Our third intent is the location intent, where we want our bot to be able to tell the location of the Conti Stud. So let's type in a couple of utterances that could be used. Okay, and remember to save. Our last intent was the intent for the bot to be able to answer questions that relate to general information. So let's add that intent as well. So here's just some various utterances that we can use for this intent. Of course, As the bot is in use, we'll obtain a lot more of these when the user interacts with the bot. So now we have our intents, and we have a couple of utterances for each of these intents. Remember to always train and test. So let's train Lewis first, and now we can try a test. We actually have a question that we ask the user to send in, so let's try this here. So let's see how it will score. Right, so we've got the top scoring intent, general information. So if we build the bot that we have general information giving us a link to a website, this could solve many queries. However, progeny is actually a normal question to ask if there are any horses for sale, so perhaps we should start to define some entities and phrase lists. So let's go to Features, and let's add a phrase list. So we know that horses are one of the services that Contestat provides. So let's call this phrase list horses. You can grab some of the recommended values as well. Now remember, progeny is also something we want to have related to horse. So save this phrase list. Let's go back and train and test. So let's go back to train and test and train Lewis again. Let's try the same question. Looks like it is at least picking services as the correct intent, but we can add this as an utterance just to make sure. Go back to intents, click on your services, and let's type this in as an utterance. Remember to save. Now what we can do is also create entities for the intents. So let's try it. Click on entities. And what we can do is we can create a list intent for services. The great thing about this is that we can have a main canonical form and also specify synonyms. So let's do that. We can have horses. Synonyms can be ponies and progeny. Another services that Contestat has is also accommodation. So let's add that in as well. These are all just words based off what Contestat has told us they offer. We could also create entities for location. For the location, we only have two entities. For the location, we only have two locations, the breeding farm and the training plot, so we can make a hierarchical entity with farm and plot as children. Let's save and test. Let's go back to the location intent. Now, what we can do is to make the location entity associate with this intent and help Lewis out a bit. We can help out with phrase lists as well. Let's create one that establishes when a user is asking for where. So go back to Features, add a phrase list. So here I'm going to add where can I go see, location, and located. This will help Lewis to identify when a user is asking any where questions to point to the location intent. Let's also have a look at our services intent. It seems we can still help Lewis out here by specifying products and services and also progeny. So let's add them as synonyms to our list. So go back to entities, go back to services, and let's add this in. Okay, we've now added them as synonyms to our lists. So let's go back to our services intents. It's looking much better now. Remember to always train and test Lewis. But now let's try to publish our bot. Click on Publish and choose your endpoint key and click Publish. Now let's try test the bot. What kind of question could a user ask? How about this one? Ah, good. It's still picking up location, even though they're using a word that we might not be familiar with. Let's try another one. Ah, look here. A mare is a female horse, but we haven't specified this in our phrase list. So it's picked general information as Lewis is not quite sure which intent this matches. It should actually match to the services. So we need to add this for final tuning. First we can go back to our intents. And because this is on a published model, we will now pick these intents through the suggested utterances. Under your services intent, remember to only select the one that we want to have as a service. Do the same for location. By saving these utterances, we are fully training Lewis. So let's go back to the entities. And let's fine-tune what type of horses are available. Again, this is because we have some basic knowledge of what Conti Stud is selling. So let's add these in as synonyms. Let's go back to our services intent. Now for location, we can add it to the phrase list. Let's add based. For the location, the user sent in a new word. This was based. So let's help Lewis to understand what this word should be related to. Let's add base to our phrase list features as well for location. This is also how Lewis will be continually learning based on what our users send in. And we can provide guidance also. Remember to always train Lewis, and let's try one more test. So let's try a couple of questions. Great, we have a high score here for location for this utterance. Let's try another one. Again, it's looking really good now. We could still do a bit of fine-tuning here, as this utterance is still giving us for general information. Let's try our last one. Okay, good. This one is predicting the correct intent, general information. So if you need to, do a bit more testing and help to fine-tune Lewis a little bit more. Once you have fine-tuned Lewis and everything is looking good, let's quickly refresh where to get the keys we need to use Lewis in our bot build using the Microsoft Bot Framework, which we'll get to in a moment. So the App ID key is found on the dashboard. Click on your menu, and right on top is your App ID. The Programmatic API key is found under My Keys on the main menu bar. Remember, we'll need these soon for our bot. So now we're ready to start setting up in Visual Studio. So in summary, we've gone through the overview of our bot objectives. We've set up Lewis for our intents and entities, and we've trained Lewis ready for Visual Studio import.